Hi everyone. So I want to talk about some shifts that I've been going through. I have set intentions and started working with the shadow aspects of the divine feminine and the shadow aspects of the divine masculine. So these were showing up in my life as hatred toward men and attracting narcissistic men or men that have repressed rage. It was showing up as my own repressed rage and self-sabotage. It was showing up as addictions and a resistance to working hard, a resistance to a daily schedule or a daily routine, anything structured. It showed up as a rebellion against that. And so I've done, so much shadow work on wounded parts of my inner child and, with my mother and with my father. But I haven't really done work on the shadow aspects of the divine feminine and the divine masculine and everything that I was taught to demonize about these aspects that are meant to be wholly united. I grew up Lutheran and was taught in the Bible about, Adam and Eve doing things all wrong and messing things up for people, and to fear Jezebel and to fear certain things, that were just naturally a part of me as a child. I remember as a child I would throw a little tantrum and I wasn't afraid to ask for what I wanted, and I would get in trouble for that, and these were parts that went into shadow. The bad girl went into shadow, and the promiscuous, that the natural creative primordial life force energy, that was put into shadow. I couldn't, that sexual energy that naturally wants to come up and be expressed, that had to go into shadow. And so these things start showing up in destructive ways. And lately, addictions have become stronger. And self-sabotage has become stronger. And it's evident that as a collective consciousness, these powers of the divine feminine and divine masculine are coming up to come online, to come into full union. But the shadow pieces are rising as well. And so there is power in each one of these pieces and each one of these self-destructive qualities or addictions or basically just the shadow aspects that we have put aside and made taboo. And so as the powers are rising, many of us are fighting that. We are struggling with that, and it's not just females, it's anybody that's here to bring into wholeness that feminine divine energy. And many of us have been called for quite some time, and a lot of us have felt blocked in knowing how to do that. And what I'm realizing is that the more that we bring these shadow aspects out of shadow and are able to bring that power piece that they contain, then the more we realize the feminine is about letting go. The feminine is about connecting deeply with nature, with the elements, and allowing that to flow through us. And so we don't have to know, we just open and allow that flow to come through us. And so the old way of doing things was to know, was to plan, was to take lots of massive action on making things happen. And now that has become increasingly harder and harder because that old way isn't working anymore. And it's time that we step into a new way of being, a new way of doing business, a new way of interacting in life, with life, as life. And a lot of that is bringing these shadow pieces up, letting the rage come up, expressing it in a healthy way, and bringing it closer. Recently I went back into depression. That's one of my coping mechanisms, and that's something that has been put into shadow for me. And usually it comes up when I am not able to express what is inside me. And so anyway, when that depression was coming up again and it was, kind of consuming me, I invited it in. I invited it closer to me. I made friends with it. And as a result of that, a power came back. A power that could just be, in the non-doing, and just a power of confidence and a power of knowing what needs to be done when it needs to be done. So not necessarily forcing anything. And that was a power that came back from that piece. And so I want to invite everyone that's kind of going through this to allow these aspects to come up. Today, for me, it was rage at being dishonored. That feminine, fierce goddess in me being dishonored and actually being killed and being suppressed and being, beaten down. And there was rage there. There was this aspect of me that was in the shadows, that was just, this warrior huntress that was raging because this aspect of power had been dishonored. And how dare you? And how dare you demonize something that is so beautiful and life-giving and the source of life, And so I had to allow that to come up and feel it and befriend it and not demonize it and not make it something evil and not be afraid of it, which at first I was, because the anger has been pushed so deep inside that it can be frightening and it can be intimidating. And so I've been working with the darker aspects of the Divine Mother. She's got so many aspects and so much power and so much love. And within that power is, the mother that is tough love, the ruthless mother, the mama bear that is willing to kill, to protect out of love. And I'm realizing that these aspects can come up and I can embrace them with love while feeling them and while expressing them. And this has just been, a deeper process, and my, things are happening in my body. I'm having to be patient with a knee injury, and, so there are things physically that are coming up along with this process. And so I just wanted to share this because I feel like it's important for a lot of us that are feeling like we're here to transmute this old energy, this old repressed energy, that we're here to express in life in a different way, in a softer way, in a way that is less effort, or less forcing, I should say, and more flow. And to just share my day-to-day process right now, in the hopes that, it can lend a piece to somebody else that's been feeling like, oh, I just feel stuck. And one of the ways that you can get to it is, or get to the bottom of it, is when you feel stuck, is to go and kind of do a body scan and see where it is in your body that you feel stuck, and go into that and describe it. What does it feel like? How old is this piece? And see the first answer that comes up, and then to say, what happened, and allow a scene to play out if there is one. And if you don't get an age, you can just maybe get a feeling of it. It could be very ancient, it could be ancestral, but go into how it feels, and trust the body sensation. And then just ask, what does it need, and what's connected to it. And a lot of times you'll find that maybe a scene will play out, maybe it's ancient, and there will be a pain in the body that goes along with that, and you can kind of go into that and kind of breathe with it. There might be a soul retrieval that's wanting to happen, So it's taking these wounded parts and befriending them, and having a conversation with them, and finding out what it is they need from you, and letting them know what you need from them. And if it's a heavier, darker, scarier energy, you can ask it, is it here to work with you for the highest good of humanity, the highest good of you? Is it here to increase love and peace? Is it here in full alignment with God? You can ask it these things. And if it growls or whatever, says no, and it's really hurt, if it feels like it's something, that wants to be a part of that, you can ask it, would you want to work with me and be part of the light in full alignment with God for the purpose of love? And if it's not ready, then you can ask the angels, or you can just send it away to a place that matches its vibration, a place that it belongs. Send it away. If it does want to work with you, and it is an aspect of you that's been wounded for a long time, sometimes just having compassion and asking it and talking to it and relating with it, it can come on board, and it can tell you, what it needs. Like the piece that came up for me today, that warrior, it was angry, it was hurt, it felt betrayed, it wanted to fight, and we were able to come to terms of what it needed from me to come back on board and be an ally, and what I needed from it. And so it was, kind of like it needed me to be willing to have a voice that's bold and take action, and be willing to step up, to give it a voice and give it an expression. And for me, I, needed it to be an ally, to bring fierceness and boldness and that passion into business and into life, into dance, into these places that, and as a destroyer, I needed it to destroy the addictions and destroy the destructive patterns that are coming up because of shadow, and to destroy, these things that are hurting me, and to be fiercely protective of the love coming in and health. And so we worked on this, we worked it out, if it wasn't willing and it was only wanting to cause me harm, then there would be no deal. And I would be, you want to absolutely set boundaries, healthy boundaries in those areas. And so anyway, this is what I've been working with. I had to face the fear of just the absolute rage that I've been denying for a long time, and not make it bad, and not make it, this old story of, oh, I've done so much work and I can't believe this is coming up. That story can keep you paralyzed and keep these aspects of power locked away. And so, we are all doing work with and for each other and for the planet. And so that's one of those stories that I've had to really go, okay, is this true? And it's just not anymore. The truth is, we are doing this together, and it takes all of us. And the more that we can go in and get these pieces out of shadow, the more it can literally shift dimensions of darkness. It can shift for the planet, the consciousness that is destroying it. The planet itself has self-destructive aspects that are in shadow, and it has, it has its own like unconscious parasites, I would say. And so anytime that we deny something, we make it taboo, we put it into shadow, it can, it goes into other realms, and it can start ruling us subconsciously. And that's exactly what happens with addictions and self-sabotage. And so a lot of times we're like, we're doing great, we're healthy, we're doing everything right, and then boom, self-sabotage comes in, or something self-destructive, or you relapse in an addiction, and you feel like it's completely subconscious. And a lot of times it's a shadow aspect that has been pushed away and put deep in there. And because it's in the subconscious, it will rear its head when you start getting healthy and you start doing, things that are uplifting. And because when that happens, when you start healing, every aspect of you wants to come on board and wants to come into union, and all of your power wants to come back. And so it's just twisted. And that is exactly why it's essential to notice what you've put in shadow. And a lot of times indicators of that will be what you hate in somebody else. If you hate anger in someone else, or you hate bigotry, or anything, then that is something that is there in shadow to work with. And so, sometimes I'll stop myself when I'm really getting upset with someone and go, okay, what is this in them that is upsetting me so much? And how is this tied in with my purpose and where I want to go in life? And a lot of times they'll be correlated. So I've just rambled on, but felt like it was important to share and to keep sharing, and to form circles, with people that are feeling the same way and going through similar things, and to go through it together. So thank you for watching, and feel free to share.